This evening. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to get into the room, and I will kind of explain what we're doing tonight. We're going to be working with some new metallic cream colors to create really cool finishes like these. You can get kind of a faux raku type technique, or here I actually used them on top of glazes, on top of a glaze piece, and got really dimensional designs on there as well. You can use them on top of raku items, and I'll show you a sample of that. We're going to do several different methods with it tonight. My wife Janine will be here to watch for questions, so if you have questions, feel free to type those in as we go. Mystery box tonight. I'm going to explain about the mystery box. We're changing the mystery box. It's always been everybody wants a mystery box, and so tonight everybody can get a mystery box if they want. The way it's going to work is we've downsized the mystery box. It has about $25 worth of merchandise in it. It's going to be absolutely free to as many people that request it within 24 hours of this live. And the only thing is you just place a $50 order. So we used to have that you paid $50 for the mystery box. Now you can order $50 worth of anything that you want. Type in the words mystery box in the comment section of your order when you're getting to the end of placing the order, and we will include what's in the mystery box. I'm not going to show you guys what's in that box until the end of the live tonight, so you need to either be here or watch the recording and place an order at our website, learnfiredarts.com, within 24 hours. And it can be $50 worth of anything. And the cool thing is at $50, in the US 48, there's free shipping to everyone. Hawaii and Alaska, it's free shipping if it fits within a medium flat rate shipping box, which what's in the mystery box tonight will fit with many other items in that box. And so they would also qualify for free shipping on most orders. And if you're international, you would pay the shipping, whatever the website will calculate automatically what the shipping is on your order, and then we'll include the mystery box items in with that. So we take these recordings and we cut out this beginning part where I talk about the mystery box. So I'm just going to kind of pause here for a second and start over so that it's real easy for our guy who does the editing to do the edits on there. Welcome everybody, thanks for joining us. We're going to be working with some new metallic creams. I'm going to show you different techniques using them. It's a non-fired product. Comes in 12 different colors, and I'm going to show you how to use it on acrylic surfaces. You can also use it over glaze pieces, and I've also got a piece here we'll talk about with raku, doing it over the top of raku pieces. So if you don't get the metallics that you want, or you want to add some purple or some blue and things in there, you can do this. It's really cool. It's a great product. We've got them available on our website, learnfiredarts.com. There's a section in there that is the live event specials, and it'll be one of the first items that you see coming up in that section. And so you can order the kit if you'd like, and we've also got open stock colors there as well. And we'll talk about other products we're using tonight that are available on our website as well. If you have questions while we're going, or if you're watching this recording later, feel free to type your questions into the comments. My wife Janine is here during the live to watch for those questions to pop up, and she will try to stop me and ask me those questions as we're going. If you put questions in after the live, after the recording, I try to get in there and answer those questions as best I can. You can also private message me or email me to get answers to those as well. So tonight we're going to start out working on pieces that are base coated with acrylic stains, and so things like Mako's softy acrylics, things like their flat black work well as a base coat. I've also got a piece here that I used Duncan's OS 569, the Concord Grape is a real nice deep purple, and I've also got some of the Navy, the OS 460, on some pieces here as well. So the new metallic creams are a non-fired finish. You can use your finger, you can use a brush, you could use even a squeegee if you wanted. We're going to use stencils tonight, we're going to use our fingers, and we're going to use brushes. So I'm going to flip the camera down here, and oh, got a question already.
Over something that came out of a wood firing?
Yeah, you can use these basically, the question was, can you use it over something that came out of a wood firing? Absolutely, you can use it really on just about any surface. I used it on this glaze piece here, and this was just kind of a test, a sample using a stencil. And it's kind of hard to show in the camera, but this was clear glazed, and I used the product over the top, and you can kind of see how dimensional that design comes out on there. The pastes are thick; they're kind of like peanut butter. They're already thickened. So if you've used things like silk screens, which now I'm thinking, man, I could probably use these with silk screens too. I didn't even think of that. I'm gonna have to try that out after this. But using stencils, they work great because they're a nice creamy consistency. So yeah, if you've got something that was wood fired and you don't like the way it turned out, you can use these over the top. Now these are not dishwasher safe. They're not food safe. They're decorative only.
Oh, one other question. Painting over biscuits strong enough to just paint with no separate firing?
Yeah, these do not get fired. So it is a non-fired product, and we're going to talk about sealing. There's brush-on sealers and spray sealers that you can use on these pieces.
And then someone asked if you could repeat the mystery box.
So if you just tuned in, so you don't need to type the words mystery box in. I'm sure there are some people typing mystery box in, and you don't need to type mystery box in. The way we're working it now is the mystery box is available for everybody. It used to be that you would pay $50 for a $100 box, and we would draw one person usually. Sometimes we had more. How we're doing it now is we've got a box with about $25 worth of merchandise. It's free for anybody that places an order on our website, learnfiredarts.com, within 24 hours of this live broadcast, and just put the words mystery box in the comment section. And if you have a $50 order, we'll include those items, and I'll show you what those items are at the end of our live this evening.
And then someone asked how you seal these, and I'm guessing you're going to talk about that?
Yeah, we'll talk about sealing, brush-on sealers and spray sealers. There's a couple different options. So what I've got here that I base coated with the Mako flat black acrylic softy stain is just a ceramic rock, and I could paint anything that I could use a real rock and paint acrylic on it. And then we're going to work with a stencil, and I thought this fish stencil would be really cool with these metallic colors on here. So I want to decide first kind of where I want this positioned on my rock. And I want to make sure that I get this fish in here and I get some of the coral and things. So I think this is kind of where I'm going to position it. Now the creams come in a 2-ounce bottle, and they're thick. Like I said, they're kind of creamy, almost like peanut butter or butter. And you can use these over any base coat. I'm going to show you guys over purple, and I'm going to show you over blue and over black. But you can virtually do this over any color. There's 12 different colors of the pastes. We've got an assortment we're selling on our website, and they are on special for $89.99 for 12 colors. I don't have the silver and I don't have the black here this evening to work with, but we've got a shipment is coming in on Monday, so any orders that are placed will ship out next week until we run out, but it usually takes about a week to get some more color in from this manufacturer. These are actually manufactured in Canada. Now I just
want to reiterate that no one needs to comment mystery box now, only when they're placing
yes,
their order.
do not type the words mystery box in. I know you guys have you've been trained to do it, and it's so automatic.
You
but
can do it when you place your order.
Yep, you just do it when you place your order in the comment section when you place an order on the website. So if you've worked with stencils, a lot of times with stencils we'll use like sponge dabbers and different things. I like the sponge rollers, or I will thicken glazes and things with the silkscreen medium. With these pastes, I can actually just take my finger and use these directly from the bottle, or if I'm worried about contaminating, I can take and put some of these on a palette or a plate. I'm just going to work right from the bottle. I'm going to get a little bit on my finger. I usually hold the stencil down with my thumb and a finger, or a couple fingers, and then I work within the inside of those areas. Now, I can put these on real thick so that it's almost flush with the edge of the stencil, or I can kind of rub them out. And I'm going to kind of rub these out more so that they're not real thick. I don't want them to be super thick. and I'll show you kind of the differences. So I did a little bit of an area with blue, and without washing my finger off, I'm going into the purple, and I'm now going to do some purple, and I'm going to slightly overlap the blue, so I get a blend from blue right into the purple. And I want to spread that out. And the color will generally get a little bit thicker along the edges of the stencil. And then I can decide what color I want to go into. I'm going to go into this teal color. And I'm going to rub that and overlap the purple and the blue slightly with that color. And these colors go a long, long way. These are 2-ounce bottles. And we actually use these. I had a retreat here at the studio back this past month. And we had 12 people use these. It was the first samples that I got into these colors, and I wanted to try it out and see how they worked in a class setting. And everybody did really good with their project, and everybody really seemed to enjoy using them. And we got a lot of really cool results. And so hardly any of this color got used doing 12 projects. And some people did both sides of their vase with designs. Some did it just on the one side. Now I've got that fish done. I'm going to go into the coral here and rub some color in. Once you've got part of the design done with some color, the stencil, it almost acts like glue and holds it in place. But I still try to hold the stencil down in the area where I'm working. And I want a lot of copper in these little coral things that are coming up here. I put a little bit of fuchsia. I'm going to do some copper. I'm going to do some of these a little bit heavier with the copper, so you can see the difference of really rubbing the color out versus doing it thicker. What else do we want? Let's add some chartreuse in here. And these colors are really blendable. They don't dry super fast, and so you get the ability to blend the colors kind of wet into wet while you're working with them. My rock design down here, I'm not filling this in because the texture of the rock is on the bottom here. So I'm just going to fill in these little areas. Janine's enjoying not having to be writing name after name after name tonight. She's kind of excited about the change to the mystery box. Let's add some fuchsia over here on this fish. There will be some more colors added to this line in the months to come. There will be a red, and there will be a yellow, and an orange added to this line as well. And the nice thing with this is if I lift this stencil and say color, sometimes you get a little color bleeds under somewhere. It's not the end of the world because you can just go back over it with black acrylic on those areas. So you can paint over the top of these colors as well.
Michael Harbridge, I cannot believe you're not wiping your finger off before putting it into a different color.
Oh, I know. It's kind of scary.
Or a stencil?
This is a stencil. As I started talking about this, I was like, oh, I think these would work with silk screens. And these wash up with just warm water. So when we use the stencils in retreat, we just washed them with warm water. We took them back to the sink, and we ran warm water over them and just kind of gently scrubbed them with a sponge or with our fingers. I'm kind of excited to get the black and the silver. I see a lot of possibilities with those colors as well. All right, I just about have the stencil done. Do a little bit more on the bottom here. See what colors haven't I gone with in here. I haven't used the white pearl. I am going to use a different finger for the white pearl just because it's such a light color, and I've got green and every other color on my fingers here. I haven't even used the white pearl yet, so we'll see how that comes out. All right, we got a little bit on the bottom here, and add a little bit of copper, and then we will lift the stencil, and then I'll show you guys how to dry brush with these on the edges of the rock. Oop, I got a fish right here I forgot about. Let me add a little copper to him. Oop, and I forgot to silence my phone. I think it's in my pocket. I'm not even sure where it is. All right, so I've got the stencil design done. I'm just going to kind of lift on two edges and try to lift that straight up to show our design. And look at how cool that design is on there. And you can see where the blue overlapped the purple, and the teal on the top of the fish overlapped on those colors as well. The chartreuse and the more teal color on this up here as well, and how sparkly that is. Now on the bottom here, in the light reflection here, you can see on this coral, I did the copper pretty heavy, so it's pretty solid. Where other areas like this fish, I rubbed it out more, and though as I turn it in the light, it looks all metallic, and there is kind of a metallic sheen over it. When you're seeing this in person, you see a little bit of the black kind of in the middle of those areas, and then the blue on that fish collects more on the edge of the stencil. And as I mentioned before, if I had areas where it bled under a little bit, I could go and just go back with a detail brush and acrylic paint and go back over and cover up anywhere that I got the metallic color that I don't want it. If I'm working on a glaze surface, I'm going to show you guys a tool, and I'll give you a little hint. The tool's in the mystery box. You can use it to wipe away color on a slick surface. Question?
Yes. Someone asked if they, well, so they look shiny, so are they?
They are. They're shiny, metallic. Yep, they do have a sheen to them.
You probably already said, and I missed it, but would you share where to purchase them? Obviously from you.
Yep, learnfiredarts.com is the website.
And then, will it adhere to different surfaces?
Yeah, so it'll adhere to glass, it will adhere to glazed ceramic, it will adhere to acrylic painted pieces, it will go on bare bisque. I'm going to show you in a minute going on bare bisque. It'll work on fabric. It's not permanent because you can't seal it and make it permanent on fabric, but on paper, cardboard, craft foam, really you could use it on just about any surface. All right, so I want to show you guys now some dry brushing techniques with these colors. So on the edges of the rock, I want to bring in some metallic colors on the edges. So I've just got a foam plate here. Now most people, when they do dry brushing, they're going to use a stiffer bristled, a hog bristle brush. These are brand new ones here. This is one that I've been using. The hog bristle is best for dry brushing techniques because it's firm and it allows you to kind of skim across the top. If you use a real soft brush, like a soft natural hair or a synthetic hair, those tend to be a little bit too soft and they don't brush the color out and just catch on the highlights. I like to work on a foam plate with these colors because I don't want to waste a lot of color. Some people will work on paper towel, a coffee filter, other surfaces to get the excess color out. I'm going to work on the plate because I can take and I can kind of deposit the excess color and work it into the brush so I don't have big globs of color in the brush, so that when I go over, I'm going to go down on this bottom edge and I pull this up onto the highlights, it will just catch on the edges. Now I'm picking up a little bit, and it's kind of cool that it's happening, a little bit of the yellow as I got into this area, the chartreuse I guess it is. A little bit of that chartreuse is getting picked up on the brush because I didn't allow that to dry. Normally I would allow the stencil design to dry really well before I would go back and try dry brushing these colors on, but I can go anywhere that there is texture and I can rub that color onto the plate, and then I can come up and just kind of skim with this color on the edges to pick up the details on the edge of this rock. And I can just keep going back and forth in different colors, just like I kind of did with my finger. What you don't want is you don't want a ton of color on this brush. And so by wiping it out on the plate or on a surface, you remove kind of the big globs of color that are there. Go back to a little blue. And you can layer this as well as you're dry brushing. You can layer these colors.
These are not food safe, right?
Nope, these are not food safe. Nope.
And does it wash off the stencil nicely?
It does, yep. I mentioned earlier that in retreat we just took them back to the sink and ran warm water over them, and it worked really well to get that removed from the stencil. And my finger too, it's full of color right now, and that will come off with a little bit of warm water and a little bit of soap. So this is using it with a brush and using it with your finger. And I can go back, and I've got now a little bit of gold in here, and I can go back over the top of what I did with teal and blue. And I can do. So these retail for $8.25 for a 2-ounce bottle. And as I mentioned, we used these in retreat a couple weeks ago. We had 15 people plus the samples that I did using these, and we didn't even use a quarter. And the copper was the one that was used the most. We didn't even use a quarter of the copper to do 15 vases, and most people did both sides on their vases with designs, so they go a long way. I know I was a little like, ooh, $8, $8.25 a bottle is kind of pricey, but once I realized how far they go, they're really not that expensive when you see how far they go. And now on the back of the rock, I'm kind of skimming across and dry brushing.
The size of the jars, right? Okay.
Yep, 2 ounce.
All right. And then could you brush them on a rubber stamp and then stamp with it?
You know, that's a good question. When I was getting everything ready tonight, I went and was pulling out my stencils, and the drawer above it was the stamps. And I thought about that. I was like, I wonder if I use these on the stamps, how well that would work. I like to use the sponge rollers on the stamps, and I'm afraid if I tried to rub that color on with my finger, that I would end up getting too much color on the stamp, and it probably would kind of make a little bit of a mess on the stamp. So I'm not sure that the stamps would be a real good way to utilize these. Now you can see here I'm getting kind of where the brush starts and stops. I get kind of some markings. So I'm going to kind of go across this other way. And now I'm adding a little bit of the teal on top of here.
Did you say whose rock mold this was?
This is an old Kinsey mold. I'm not sure that this mold, this plain rock, I think this went to the company out in Oregon. I can't think of the name, and somebody bought the company, and they haven't done anything with it, and nobody's been able to get a hold of them to be able to order anything from them.
Okay, someone earlier that I missed said, is this just an acrylic paint?
No, this isn't acrylic. I don't know what this is made of. There's obviously some type of a metallic mica or something in these colors. I don't know what it is. I don't make it. I just found this in another market, and sometimes, I buy this stuff and I think, well, I'm going to try this, and I have drawers and shelves full of stuff that I think, I'm going to do something with that someday, and this is one of those things that has been sitting here for quite a while, and I finally got time to play with it a little bit and experiment and come up with some kind of cool and fun things. And you can see I'm just taking different colors and I'm just adding a little bit of gold to this, and you can really just kind of play around and get really different looks. And this is where you can really get kind of the look of raku. So if you like a lot of purple in a raku piece, work with a lot of the purple and add more purple to your surface. So I can go back, I can add more purple here, and it's really hard to get the camera to truly pick up all of the colors that are coming up in this. I gotta be careful I don't get my fingers in the other side, but you can see how that works. This takes a little while depending how thick you put it on. It takes a little while to dry. On this particular piece, I had used a stencil, and I rubbed the color out quite a bit. So you can see it's not totally solid blue in the design areas. I rubbed it out so the color goes a long way. Did a variety of colors on this stencil as well. On the edges of this piece, this vase was smooth on the edges. And during retreat, this is one of the projects we did. And to add texture on the side here, we added a sculpting medium a while ago. And there's a white and there's a clear. And so we took that and we used a dry brush and we dabbed that on so that we developed a texture all around the outside edge of the vase. And then we did kind of a rubbing on with our finger, or you can do a dry brushing technique with the brush, and you can see the different colors from the blues to the golds to the teals going all around the outside edge of this vase. So if you have a smooth surface, you can add texture to it. If you do it in the greenware stage or the clay stage, you can dab slip on there or make a slip with the clay that you're working with. The skeletal leaf was a newer stencil. We've got all of these stencils too. We've got on the website learnfairedarts.com, and this was done basically the same way. And I love the design of this leaf and the texture in this leaf. And again, just using a variety of colors, not washing my finger off in between, going into the different colors on that piece.
Okay, so there's a couple questions. Someone wants to know if these are similar to the metallic rub-ons that come in a watercolor style tray.
So the metallic rub-ons, years ago there were trays of them. Ceramachrome made them. They were called wax metallics. There were different manufacturers out there. J. Gott Products had them. They came in little bottles. And those were very similar to this. I would say that the rub-on metallics, Amico makes, they come in little metal tubes, like a little toothpaste tube, but a little one, like a metal tube. And they've got mostly coppers and golds, and I think they've got kind of a red color and a pewter color in that line. They're all very similar to this product. They're a creamy consistency, but these do wash out with warm water, where a lot of them you need to use like mineral spirits or turpentine, that they're more of an oil-based product. These, I've had a cold this week, and so I can't smell anything when I hold these up to my nose. No, I'm not saying I can't smell anything. Trust me, I can smell. I've been sucking on cough drops, and there isn't a strong odor, but my nose is a little stuffy, so I may not be smelling as good as I normally do, but I honestly don't remember these having a strong odor, where a lot of them were more of a petroleum-based product that had a stronger odor to them.
Okay. Someone wants to know how long it takes to dry, and can you seal it? You'll be talking about
Yeah, I'll be talking about sealing. And drying really depends on how thick you put it on. So on areas here where I put it on real thick, it might take a half hour or longer for that to totally dry. Where I did the dry brushing on here, I can touch that and that's already dry. I'm gently rubbing over here on this fish, and that's already dry. It's not smearing as I rub over it. I was just cautious at first because I didn't know if I had a spot that was a little thick. So they dry pretty quickly, but there's enough time for you to work with them to get those blends of color.
Can you bounce it on with the brush?
More of a dabbing type technique. You could. So if you want them on thicker, you could do a dabbing technique. So I was just going to show here this tree. Isn't this lovely? I did part of it black, part of it blue, part of it purple, and then I left part of it white because somebody had asked about, can you just paint them on directly? So I'm just going to take...
Real quick, one other
Yep.
thing. So someone wants to know about if you need instructors for the August show, but maybe that's something to talk about at the end.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then, are the colors layered on the leaf or more side by side?
The colors are more side by side. So kind of like I did on the fish, I rubbed an area with copper, and then I did an area with blue, and I kind of overlapped them a little bit so I didn't have a straight line, but that was how I did the leaf as well. So I did a little bit of blue, and then I did a little bit of teal, and I kind of overlapped the blue, and then I went into the purple, and then the copper, and just kind of overlapped a little bit so I didn't have a perfectly straight line of blue and a perfectly straight line of purple and a perfectly straight line of teal on there. So you get more of a blend where they overlap each other slightly. So I'm just showing here, painting this straight on the bisque. I can use this just like paint to get a really nice, brilliant copper color on this piece. I can also take this and do kind of a dry brushing technique with this. And this is over the purple. So you don't have to, and the reason I'm showing purple is you don't have to use black as your base coat. You can do this over other colors. So the copper over purple. I can also do the copper over black. I think a Halloween tree done with in black and then dry brushed with the copper. And
a couple people that, or somebody who said they'd be perfect to add shine to ornaments for Christmas, Halloween, Hanukkah.
Yep. Yeah, they're very, very metallic, very sparkly color. So I'm just going to do a little bit with purple. We'll do a little bit of purple down here on the blue. And so really, you know, when you start playing around with these colors on different colors, try them on top. So on the very bottom here, and it is really hard to get it to show up on the camera, but this is on the dark blue. I took the blue metallic and dry brushed that over the top of the dark blue base coat. This is the copper over the top of the blue, which is almost giving me like a rose gold color. I can take, let's see what happens when I take a little bit of teal over the top of this dark blue. So I get more of a green, and there's a little bit of copper on the brush. I'm not washing the brush out in between and really cleaning it out, but get some cool metallic finishes on here as well. Let's see how the chartreuse does over the top of the black. I haven't tried that. So that's kind of cool. Oops, there goes my stencil. So play around, layer the colors, and here too, if I was going to create the look of Raku over this black area, I can do some of the copper, and I can take some of the purple. So a lot of times people are like, oh, I want, a lot of purple in my Raku. Well, I can take that purple, and I can also take it over the copper a little bit. I can take blue, and I can do that over an area to get it really blue, but I can also take that over the copper to get some different shades in here. I can go into the teal, do that just over the black, and then I can take that over the copper a little bit too. So you can see all those different colors that you can get within this area with the copper, and you can see little highlights of teal on top of there. I can take a little bit of the fuchsia if I want. Well, I didn't wash my brush out, so with the teal I'm getting kind of a purple color. But I can go back and I can let the colors dry before I add more. If I dry brush over the top of them while they're still kind of wet, I end up getting kind of a blend because that copper is still soft, and when I go over it with the teal, it's going to pick up a little bit of that copper. If I let the copper completely dry, then it's not going to move it around like it does while the color's wet. So there's lots of cool stuff you can do with these to get different finishes, solid, dry brushing over other colors. I also want to show you while I've got this tree out, this was a tree that was Raku fired. And I got some cool color. I got some coppers and things on the top of the tree here. But I wanted to see how it would work, and this tree is a little dusty from sitting around. But I took some of the copper just on the tips of the branches. And I can do that with my finger. I can do it with a brush. If I do this with my finger, I'm going to get a little bit of the color off of my finger. And then I'm going to go and I'm just going to hit the highlights of this piece to add a little bit of copper. I can go in and I can add, if I want some purple, I want some purple over here, I can just go in. I can add purple, I can add blue. And if I wanted this a little bit more into the branches and things on here, then I could use a brush instead of my finger, and I can pick up this blue and I can take a dry brush over the surface to get more blue showing or more purple. See how blue I was able to get it? And then in here, it's hard to see the purple in the camera, but that is actually purple. It looks kind of blue in my screen. But you can accent and highlight. So somebody asked before about a wood fire piece. If it didn't turn out, you can go back and you can do this on there. If you don't like the way it looks, just run it under warm water and wash it off and do it again. Or you can do a base coat of an acrylic color or something on top of that as well. This piece that was done, that was clear glaze, this was the very first piece that I played around with these to see how well this color would adhere to a glazed surface. So this was clear glazed. I used the wheat stencil and I rubbed it over the top. And you can see how dimensional, and I get it just right in the camera, it keeps trying to focus on it. And you can see that texture in there, and you can actually feel it. So once this dries over a glazed surface, if I took something and I really scraped at this, I could scrape this away, but it would be hard to scrape that off of there. So this by itself is pretty permanent, not dishwasher safe, not food safe, obviously, but I wouldn't really even have to seal this. But if I want to seal it, I can use, there are brush-on sealers, so Mako and Duncan, which is now part of Mako, they make gloss sealers and matte sealers that are brush-on that you could use on any of these pieces. And they also make spray sealers. So Duncan has spray sealers, and they have, I'm just silencing my phone here. Yeah, I just realized it is in my pocket. They have spray sealers. So there's 3 different sprays that are available, and there is a satin, which has almost no shine, and the word satin is real small on the can here, which is the SS341C.
And these work for over glazed pieces too, right?
You can use them over, yep, you can use them over glazed pieces.
Okay.
Now, that satin can dull that glossy, shiny surface. So if you use the satin, you can dull this. The gloss, obviously, is going to be shiny like glaze, and the matte is going to give it a little bit of a shine. So on this piece, and I'm not sure how well this will show up in the camera, probably not well at all. I did this part of the vase was in the satin, so there's almost no shine. The middle I did with the matte, and then this side I did with the gloss, and it's not showing up a huge difference. If you saw this in person, you would see this side is much shinier than this side, and the middle is kind of an in-between glossiness. Those spray sealers are something that you want to do outside or in a well-ventilated area. They do smell, and you're better to spray a couple light coats on than a real heavy coat. If you use the brush-on sealers, just make sure that that color is good and dry before you brush those brush-on sealers onto the surface.
Someone said, could you use regular bottled acrylic liquid?
Regular bottled acrylic liquid. There are different, you might be referring to a brush-on sealer. Like I know Liquitex makes sealers, gloss and matte sealers in the art market for like canvas painting and things like that. They definitely can be used as well to seal. Just be careful if there's any petroleum base. So when we did the Azure technique, which happens to be a thing I demoed on the other side of this vase. With this technique, we use the brush-on sealers to seal them. And I did have somebody that there was a DecoArt sealer, and I don't know if DecoArt has multiple types of sealers, but the sealer, when they brushed it on, all the color started moving and flowing on there. And so some sealers will have more of a mineral base to them or some type of a petroleum base to them, and they could soften these colors and get them to move. I know the brush-on sealers that Mako Duncan brand and the spray sealers I've used over them, and I've had no problems. I can't guarantee any other products out there. I haven't had a chance to try everything.
She said like Liquitex?
Yeah, so I mentioned, Liquitex is, yep. And I think those will work because the Liquitex did work over the top of the Azure markers without any problem too. So I think that those are probably safe to use. They're a little bit pricier usually than the ceramic sealers are, but if you've already got that, yep, give that a shot and that should work. So I want to talk a little bit about the dry brushes because I get a lot of questions about brushes and how to care for the brushes and what brushes to use. And I had mentioned that these Majestic brushes, they are new. Majestic are made by Royal. They've been Majestic brushes have been around for a long time, but they generally were a gold Taklon brush, and they had some natural hair ones. And they just came out with these new dry brushes. And so these are a very high quality bristle brush, and there are flats and there are rounds. And there are different lengths of hair. So there's what's called short hair and long hair. So in the rounds, and I'm going to hold out here like the two largest ones, you can see the length of the bristle in these. One is a little bit longer, one's a little bit shorter. Some people with dry brushing, even though these are both size 8 brushes, the one line has shorter bristle, the other has longer. Some people like that longer bristle when they're doing dry brushing techniques. Some people like a little bit firmer, stiffer, and so that shorter bristle gives you the feeling of a shorter, stiffer bristle. It's not as soft feeling when you're dry brushing. And you can definitely see the difference when you get down to the size 3 with the length of the bristle. Now, eventually, this longer bristle is going to get down to this length because dry brushing is rough on the bristle because of the technique of kind of rubbing it and skipping across, hitting the highlights on the piece. That hair wears down. So there's lots of different hog bristle out in the market. And so, Royal sells brushes to places like Walmart. And so Walmart sells a 10-pack of hog bristle brushes. Well, the hog bristle that's put into those brushes, those sets sell for about $5 or $6 for a set of 10 or 12 brushes in Walmart, and that is a very low grade of bristle. And so the better grade of bristle, the Majestic with the acrylic handle, this is like the best quality bristle brush that is offered. These are designed specifically for dry brushing and oil painting techniques. They also have an acrylic handle, so if you have a tendency to leave brushes sitting in water and forget about it, you know how wood handles can crack and peel and swell. These won't do that because they're a solid black acrylic handle. So very good quality brush. When you have a brand new brush, there is what's called sizing usually in the bristles, and so the bristles will feel really stiff. And you want to wash that sizing out. The best way to do it is not going like this with the bristles dry and breaking it apart and trying to break away that sizing. It's best to put them in warm water and work that warm water into it. And the sizing is kind of like a glue. And so when that softens up in warm water, it's going to feel kind of slippery and slimy in your fingers. You want to wash that away, gently massaging the bristles to get that sizing out, or working it in the palm of your hand as you work that sizing out, and then get them completely dry before dry brushing with them. But you want to wash that sizing out. Don't just break it out. That's not good for the brush. It's bad for the bristle. Hog bristle will shed. It will get fuzzy at the end. The better the quality of the bristle, the less likely that's going to happen. So a really low-end brush that is sold at Walmart is going to get all fuzzy and it's going to shed and wear down a lot quicker than a better quality brush. So there's 5 different long bristle rounds, there's 5 different short bristle rounds, and in the flat line as well, there are long bristle and short bristle. And we've got all of these available on our website as well. They're all under the Majestic dry brush, and then you select the option of what set you want. Right now we're just selling them in sets of 5 of each of the long or short, round or flat, and we will be getting those up on the website as individual items eventually as well. When you're done using the brushes or in between colors, I had a bowl of water over here, and my water is very dirty from using the black and from using other colors. I'm going to wash this brush out the best that I can in my water. This water is really dirty, so then when I take it back, when I'm done painting for the night, I'm going to take this back to the sink. I'm going to rinse this out good, get as much color out as I can, and then I'm going to put soap in the palm of my hand, and I'm going to work that in the palm of my hand and get kind of suds in there. I'm going to rinse that out and then wipe it on paper towel, and this is going to show a lot of color coming out on the paper towel, but if you brush onto the paper towel and there's color still coming out, you need to repeat that process. These white bristles will get stained, but the true test of have you gotten the color out of the brush is when you wipe it on a white towel or paper towel, if the water just wets it and you don't have color coming out. As long as there's color coming out, keep repeating that process of washing it. When you're done with them, lay them flat. A lot of people stand them upright in cups or cans or brush holders. There's brush holders, ceramic brush holders a lot of us have. It's not good to stand brushes up because all of that water that's in the hair is going to go right down into the ferrule of the brush where glue is holding those bristles together, and glue holds that ferrule onto the handle. On wood handle brushes, they do what's called crimping, where there's actually something that comes in and it pinches the metal ferrule of the brush into the wood of the handle. Acrylic handles, you can't do that. It relies on glue. So when you stand brushes up and they're wet and all that water sits on that glue that's holding the bristles in and holding that on there, eventually it can break down that glue and your brushes won't last as long. So while they're drying, lay them flat. Once they're dry, you can stand them up in those containers, but never stand them up when they're wet. Unless if you want to buy more brushes, and I'm happy to sell you more brushes. So, go for it if you want to stand them up wet, but they will last longer if you lay them flat. The other thing is, a lot of people don't realize now, with dry brushing techniques, you want to start with dry bristles in the brush. But when I went to base coat my tree with the purple and the black and the blue, and I was just working with acrylic paint, you want to dampen that brush, work it in the palm of your hand before you start painting, because that will dampen the bristles, and it's less likely that that acrylic paint is going to dry into the hair in the middle. Because when you just are painting with a brush and you dip a dry brush into wet paint, especially acrylics, that paint starts to dry in the middle of that hair. Because when you're painting, the paint's coming off of the outside, and that paint is just sitting in the middle, just drying in the bristles. So when you wash it out and you go through that process, even though you wipe it and you don't have color coming out of the brush, there's usually color that's dried into the middle of the hair. And the next time you use it, a little bit more builds up. And the next time, a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually, your bristles are all going out like this because there's so much dried up, caked up paint in the middle of the bristles. There's lots of good brush cleaners out there. One of my favorites that a teacher told me about years ago is Totally Awesome. You get it at the Dollar Tree. It used to be $1 for a liter container. They've probably either made it a smaller size now, or the price maybe has gone up to maybe $1.50 or $1.25. But it's worth that investment of $1 to $1.50, because if you have dried up paint and brushes, I just did this the other day. I had some in retreat that didn't get washed out well, and I soaked just the bristles of the brush in a bowl of Totally Awesome overnight. And the next day I took it and ran it under the faucet and washed it out, and the bristles softened right up, and all of that dried up acrylic that was in there. We didn't wash a brush out that had actually a brush on sealer, and I thought that brush for sure is toast. And that Totally Awesome just softened up that sealer that was dried into that brush. So it's a really good brush cleaner.
Someone asked if, someone says they have a brush holder that holds them brushed down. Would that be okay?
Yeah, so there are brush holders out there. There are some that
Oh,
are
like
like
a
a
hanging
coil,
loose?
yep,
Oh,
that
okay.
are like a coil, and then the brushes kind of hang this way, and that's really good because
In a bowl. I'm like, no.
yeah, so that allows the water to go. A lot of bamboo brushes will have a loop on the end to actually hang the brushes because bamboo handles, you stand those babies upright like this and that water goes into the bamboo, that bamboo expands and it splits and cracks. And so a lot of bamboo brushes are actually designed to hang like that. But yeah, if you've got one of those, that's a good way to do it. All right, we got any other questions? Janine's looking through to see if there's any other questions there.
How about the Harold's brush cleaning pad?
Yep, so Harold's brush cleaning pad is a blue kind of a plastic pad, little square like this, and it's got little blue loops that come up on it. And that is good because that kind of you scrub the brush over the top of that, and that will kind of work into the bristles. Be careful with natural, like soft natural hair brushes. Like if you have really good Kolinsky sable brushes, you don't want to be really rough and scrubbing with it. You want to be a little bit more gentle with a brush like that. There's lots of different pads out there. There's little silicone pads now that I've seen that are kind of gentle on the brushes. The ones that scare me, there's one that is a metal coil that goes in the bottom of a water bowl, and I see people dragging their brushes across that. And stiff hog bristle brushes will withstand that better than something like a Kolinsky Sable or a lot of the synthetics like a gold Taklon or some of the new soft synthetics that are like natural hair, because they're plastic, if they get wrapped around that coil and stretched, they will get real funky and wavy. And so you got to be careful that whatever you're using to clean the brushes, it's not real harsh and stretching and pulling on that hair.
Someone actually asked something about it just says the cleaner or laundry soap, but I don't really know what.
So, and that's a question I get all the time too, is people say, what kind of soap should I use? And there's lots of good brush cleaners out there. I know Colleen at Mako was talking about they've had a lot of requests to come back out with their brush cleaner that they used to have, and they are looking at coming out with that. And it was a great brush cleaner. But I tell people a brush is hair. So whether it's natural hair or synthetic, treat it like you treat the hair on your head. Don't use Dawn dish soap on brushes. Would you use Dawn dish soap on your hair? You could, but what it's going to do is it's going to dry your hair out really bad, and it'll do the same thing to brushes because Dawn is designed to take grease away from dishes. It will also take natural oils out of natural hair brushes. And so that can be really hard on brushes, whether they're natural or synthetic. So I always say shampoo works good, and it can be inexpensive shampoo from the dollar store. It can be really high-end shampoo if you want. Can you use conditioner on a brush? Absolutely. It's hair. Is it going to be mad at you if you use conditioner? No, it'll like the conditioner. If you're not using a brush for a long time, actually dipping it in conditioner and just shaping the brush and laying them flat and letting that conditioner sit in the brush is good for the brush if you're not going to use them for an extended period of time. And it also repels like mites and things that can get in there and eat away at the hair on your brushes.
I guess she was referring to the Totally Awesome. Did you mean the cleaner or the laundry soap?
Oh, I guess I didn't know there was a laundry soap. It is the cleaner. It is a
Okay,
yellow
just the yellow,
liquid.
yeah.
Yep, and it doesn't have a strong odor, but I don't know what's in it. It eats away at acrylic paint really well.
Um, and then someone said they ordered the copper patina from your last demo but forgot to get a sealer. Can they use a spray sealer from Duncan that you showed tonight?
Yep, you can use the spray sealers on the Magic Metallics that we did 2 weeks ago. And I know a few of you are waiting for your Magic Metallic orders. We shipped out everything that we had. We had a great response to those colors. And we've got another order that should be shipping. I thought maybe we'd get a notification that it shipped today. Mako is about 2 weeks out on shipping. And so we had ordered just before that live. We had ordered more in anticipating getting a lot of orders. And I think with the holiday in there, it's a day or two longer. So we should be getting a notification. So next week we should have those colors in and be shipping those out right away. Well, Janine's looking for,
Luann actually says you'd sell more brushes if you wouldn't get all these helpful suggestions to like save them for
yeah,
later.
so, leave them in water, put them this way in your bowls so that the bristles
Yeah,
all,
so you can order new
I
ones
should be
every
telling you
week.
everything to do, not to do, that I should tell you to do. I just want to show you guys while Janine's looking for other questions. We've got lots of different stencil designs and we're adding some new ones, but there's lots of cool stencils. This is the one that I had used on the one. This bonsai tree we've got, cypress tree. This one we have in a 6x6. We've got these coming in on Monday in a 12x12. I think we added those to the website today. This was the leaf stencil. The fish stencil that I used comes in a 6x6 and a 12x12. This feather you've probably seen. I did this with the raccoon. We've got butterflies. This is the wheat that I used on the rock. This is the 6x6. We've also got that coming in a 12x12. The aspen trees, this is one of my favorites too, with raccoon and other techniques too. So we've got a whole bunch of new ones that we're adding that actually just got added today to the website, and they will start shipping on Monday.
Okay, so there was one question about the mystery box, if it would pertain to Canadians.
Yeah, so the mystery box does pertain to Canadians. So all of the items, so what we're doing with the mystery box, and I'm just bringing that over here, is we're doing smaller items that could go in with any order, and it's not going to add a bunch of weight to the order or size to the order. So the way the mystery box is going to work, if you missed the beginning, and I'm going to show you in a minute here what's in the mystery box, rather than having a big mystery box that's $50, we are doing mystery boxes that are free. It's not just for one person, it's for as many people as go onto our website and place a $50 order or more for anything that they want to purchase. So you get to go in and pick the items that you want, and then what's in this box is free. And I'm about to start coughing again. So what's in this box is free. So you've got 24 hours. So from the end of this live, from the beginning of this live, you've got 24 hours to put in a $50 order. And then when you place the order, just put mystery box in the comment section of your order. And, sorry, I knew that was coming. And that will add these items to your order at no charge. All right, so I'm going to show you guys what's in the mystery box. I had talked about if you're working on a glazed surface and you get color bleed under the stencil, that you can remove the color. And so there is a tool, and I'm going to actually take this out of the package. We're going to be adding this to our website. This is a brand new, it's called the Wipe Away tool. We've had a larger version of this, but this one is a rubber tip end. And you can use this to move color, remove color. You can use this on other, bisque as well. I have to stop talking soon. You can use this on bisque as well to remove color. So in the mystery box, you get one of these new Wipe Away tools. You also get, and I know a lot of you probably already have this, but it's the Zem, the retractable scoring tool. And I use these in a lot of my lives. We sold a ton of these. We finally have good inventory on these. So everybody that asks for a mystery box will get this for free. They will also get, and everybody can use, a good detail brush. So this is a 20-aught gold Taklon acrylic handle brush that you will get as well. And I should mention those plastic caps, when you take those off, throw them away. I just put it back on this brush because the sizing is still in the brush and I can get that on, but most of the time people try to put that on, they get bristles caught in there and they end up ruining the brush. So usually throw those caps away. You don't want those. And then also in that box, you get a really nice soft glaze brush. This is a mop brush. This is one of the Menta brushes. It's kind of like a really nice makeup brush. Great for glazing, great for washes, great for pouncing and stippling techniques. Acrylic handle. This is actually a very soft synthetic hair. Great brush, very durable. And then you'll also get a round and a flat hog bristle brush. These are part of the dry brush line from Royal. These are the same brush heads as the Majestic, but they just have a wood handle on them is really the only difference, and obviously the color of them. So you'll get a round and a flat. So that is the mystery box. It's free for anybody who places an order at learnfiredarts.com in the next 24 hours. So by 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. Central Time on our website, we will include all of those items on your order at no extra charge. Free shipping anywhere in the U.S. On a $50 order that fits in a flat rate shipping box. Hawaii and Alaska, you don't qualify if you order big items that don't fit into that flat rate shipping box. All right, so I also want to talk, there was a question about the Fire Darts Expo.
Someone just asked if you're doing Brooksville.
So Brooksville, Florida, I still haven't decided. As most of you know, that's where I had my accident in February, was heading down to that show, and I'm still dealing with a few effects from that accident. I'm looking at doing Brooksville and then the South Carolina show. I've been asked to do that as well, and then doing some workshops in between that week, probably down in the Alabama, Florida area, maybe the Georgia area as well. But I haven't committed to any of that right now. Right now I'm focused on the Fire Darts Expo, which is what used to be the Waukesha, Wisconsin show. Tim Hayes has run that show for a long time under the Exhibitors Association. Tim did a great job with that show, but over the years it's gotten a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. So this year we are going to be focused on a lot of education. Paula McCoy and myself for sure are going to be teaching. I'm working with several other instructors right now. If you are interested in teaching at that show, on our website, learnfiredarts.com, is all the information on having a booth if you want to exhibit, if you want to teach and sell. We've got options there for everybody. And we're also going to be trying to bring in a lot more clay into that show as well. So we'll be sharing more details on that event. Right now I'm dealing with the venue and the decorator, so the company that comes in and does all the draping for the booths and the tables. Just this week, I finally got a written contract from them, and the price went from $28 for every 10 feet of space in that show for them to do a table and the draping around it to $108 now. Yes, it went up even more today. I went back when it was 68 yesterday when she sent me the paperwork, and then I went back to her and I said, what happened in like the last week that this went up? And she said, it's labor costs, it is the cost of fuel to get all of that there, and it is what it is. And she said, we actually made a mistake, and so here is your new contract. It's now $108 for every 10 feet. So now we're,
contract she gave you yesterday.
because I hadn't signed the contract, that contract is void. And so I've contacted several other companies, and we're looking at other options, and I found somebody else where I can get tables. And so it's been very time consuming dealing with all of this, but it'll all work out, and we'll get it figured out. So
really quick, can you tell them when they're ordering where they write the mystery box?
So when you are filling out your order, there is always a comment section. So I think it's like after you put your name and address and that information in, there's a spot that'll say comments, and you can put a comment in there. And some people will say, like, you know, leave it at my front door, leave it at my back door, stuff like that. Or they'll just put nice comments in there about how much they love us and stuff like that. So just put mystery box in there. If you forget to do that, you can always email us or send us a message to the website too. It's info@claypuzzling.com is the email address. So you can do that, and I don't want to deprive anybody of their mystery box. And my phone keeps beeping here now and vibrating, and that usually means that there's orders going in. So I think a lot of people are taking advantage. So if there isn't anything else, I will say thank you before I start coughing and hacking again.
Oh, someone said no one cares if tables are draped.
Yeah, I know nobody cares if tables are draped, and the draping isn't the expensive part. It's putting the draping up around the walls in the room and setting up all the booths. And the teachers all need to have enclosures around their classrooms and stuff too. So we'll get it figured out. I may go buy a bunch of bed sheets. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. I won't do that, but we'll get it figured out. So thanks you guys for joining us tonight. We will be back again, I believe, in 2 weeks. I have no idea what I'm doing in 2 weeks. But there is also Clay Share Day is coming up in a couple of weeks. It's on a Wednesday this year. We'll be posting information about that as well, and I'll be doing a workshop, and I'm actually working on my samples for that, and so we'll be announcing that in the next few days too. So thanks for joining us. Take care. Have a good night.